Hmm. Hi everyone, welcome. Today we'll be focusing on building support for our spines from the ground up, and it's going to give us a lot of mobility and adaptability as we spiral and backbend. You'll need 2 blocks, and you might want to have a blanket nearby or a cushion, more for seated kind of things. And then when you're ready to get started, take a quarter turn to your right and lay down. Yay. I have my blocks over to the left-hand side off of my mat so that they won't disrupt me on the lying on the back situation, and I'll make sure you have an opportunity to grab them when we need them. Great to see you. Welcome, welcome. The blanket can be out of the way. We're not going to need it probably until the end. And take your time making your way onto your back. Make any accompanying sounds that go with that. Maybe a sigh of relief or whatever naturally emerges. And give yourself the freedom to be as comfortable as possible here. Perhaps that means bending the knees, adjusting the feet, wiggling around. Take your time. Wow, okay, it looks like everyone's going for the knee bend, so I'm going to follow you guys. Let's place the soles of the feet on the floor. And from here, let the knees knock in a little bit. It just allows the work of the legs to release. Sithara, I know with your internal rotation that might not be a good option for you, so feel free to do what feels most supportive. And then see if you can start to feel your breath flow. And the hands can be wherever is comfortable. They can be out to the sides, they can be resting on the belly, or whatever you discover on your own. And so often when we breathe, there's awareness in the rib cage or even in the front of the belly. Start to visualize your lungs like a balloon filling 3-dimensionally. So there's also expansion at the sides, expansion at the back. And get really interested in the sensations in the back of the rib cage. And you might notice on your inhale, there's a tendency to arch the back when the front of the ribs are filling more than the back of the ribs. So try to resist that tendency and see if your deep core naturally awakens to support your neutral spine. Perhaps more sensations emerge on the back body as more wakes up. And play with tucking the chin, lengthening the back of the neck, so that's sort of the action that gives you a double chin. And as you breathe and work to maintain neutral in the spine, notice if you can get a little length through the back of the neck. And as that happens, you don't want the shoulders to ride up. Sometimes there's some connection between the base of the neck and the tops of the shoulders. See if you can keep the shoulders relaxed yet connected to the rib cage. And continuing with this subtle work, start to attach the mantra Om Namah Shivaya to your breath. And the magic of using the mantra with the breath is well, there's endless magic, but we're doing it today to even out the length of the inhale and the exhale, and of course to invite more spiritual wisdom and spiritual energy into our practice. Om Namah Shivaya. Letting it fill those spaces consciously and maybe even beyond where our consciousness reaches. And as you breathe and as you direct your attention, see if you can start to let go of the rest of your day. What a special surprise. Hi. Let go of everything happening around you and try to become as present as possible with your breath and your body. And it's not selfish to let go of worry when there's challenges happening in the world. It really makes you better equipped to serve those situations when the time comes. And so though you're nourishing yourself, this can also be a very selfless practice, helping you open up and serve better. And we'll just take a few more breaths here to release what's hooking us and keep bringing attention to breath and the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. We'll begin moving very soon, and for our last few breaths, I just want to set those reminders to breathe into the back of the rib cage, to keep the spine neutral and resist that tendency to arch on the inhale. And keep letting the neck lengthen and the shoulders soften. And take as much time to stay here and breathe as you would like. When you feel ready, you can hit play on the first track if you're using the musical playlist. And when you're ready to move, allow the arms to float up to a T position. Walk the shoulders gently down the back. You don't want this to be forceful, but rather allow it to feel like the shoulders are really spacious. They're sliding wide on the rib cage. If the feet aren't already, walk them a little bit wider, point the knees up, and start to take some windshield wipers with the knees and assess that sensation in the body. And then start to anchor the bottom rib into the yoga mat, and notice how that limits the movement of your windshield wipers. You might feel more of a core sensation, the deep core wrapping around the spine, as well as the hip core that supports the thigh bone and the hip socket. Just like in our breathing exercise, pay attention to the spine and notice how pressing that bottom rib towards the mat helps prevent the low back from overarching. Start to feel the weight shifting in the feet from the outer edge to the inner edge and vice versa. And let the feet be really heavy so that this gentle movement starts to massage awareness into the big toe, into the fleshy part of the ball of the foot, into that intelligent suction of the outer pinky edge of the foot, and into our very important heel that is the fulcrum for so much of our connective tissue. The next time the knees point up, pause there. Again, anchor that bottom rib, and we're not trying to flatten the lumbar curve. So if you find that that's flattening, do a little bit less, but notice a sense of the front of the rib cage integrating into the core. And now play with extending the left heel up towards the sky. Make some little circles with the left heel. Again, tune into the neutrality of the spine. And for me, I've been really enjoying how keeping a neutral spine in different movements has actually allowed me to wake up a lot more sensation and a lot more awareness of my core. You'd think less movement would be boring, but instead there's like so much more sensation when I'm really aware of what my spine is doing. And we'll have lots of opportunities to move the spine today. You can change directions with the circle and give yourself freedom to explore. The circle can get bigger, but if you go too big, you might notice that arching in the low back, that sort of like, oh, I've gone too far. My core can't quite support that range of motion just yet. And then bend the left knee, wrap the hands around the shin, gently squeeze the abdomen into the thigh, allowing the rib cage to follow so the head floats, but the movement comes from the center. Take a breath, and then gently release down one rib at a time, which is the same as one vertebra at a time. Bring your awareness down into the right foot, press into the right big toe, and gently start to float the hips. Don't go too high because single leg bridges are hard and we're just warming up. And then set the pelvis down and gently start to kick out through the left heel. Reach the arms overhead. Keep the left heel just an inch from the floor and feel the length from heel all the way up to the left sit bone, all the way up one vertebra at a time to the crown of the head. And then set that heel down. Drag the heel in to your bridge setup. And before we do the other side, let's do a nice easy bridge. So reach hands towards heels. Anchor into the feet. Anchor into the shoulders. And gently allow the front of the body to lengthen any amount that feels good. You might even notice a little asymmetry after that work on the left side. And then release one rib at a time, visualizing that you could actually see the imprint that each rib is making into your yoga mat. And then float the right heel, arms to T, start to make circles with the right heel. And it's okay if the leg isn't straight. Let this be really natural. You guys all do yoga with me, so actually all your legs look so perfect. You know what to do. Bring your awareness to that bottom rib. And if that ever feels hard to understand or hard to act upon, anchoring the sacrum works too. And the reason I've been enjoying the bottom rib is it lets that core work for me travel higher up into my body. So instead of just a stable pelvis, it's a stable pelvis, a stable rib cage, and all the connective tissue in between is stable. Circle the other way. Let the movements get bigger. You can wiggle your cute little toes as long as you're looking at them. Try spreading them out a little wider. And then Bend the right knee, wrap the hands around the right shin, gently curl up, squeezing abdomen to thigh. Doesn't matter how high you lift. Release the upper body and start to push into the left foot, letting the hips float any amount that you feel ready for right now. We'll have a chance to go further later. Slowly release back down. Kick the right heel forward as you reach arms overhead. Keep the heel hovering and push out through the heel. Notice how pushing out through the right heel activates the muscles on the back of the right leg. Take a breath. See if you can stay relaxed, though this is active. Lengthen through the back of the neck, just like we did before. And then release the heel down. Ooh, that feels so nice. Let the whole body release tension after that moment of physical softening. Drag the right heel in to meet the left, hands down towards the heels. And let's slowly lift the pelvis. Slowly curl up one rib at a time, letting the back of the neck lengthen. Feel free to walk the shoulder blades down a little bit if that feels more supportive and helps you free the neck. Make sure you're breathing. Can always attach mantra to breath, just like we did in the opening. And then release one vertebra at a time. And we'll do that one more time on each side, adding on some fun additional things. So start by kicking the left heel up. Just make one circle. See if you can go a little bigger, still with control. Go the opposite direction. Make sure you're breathing. And then bend. Left knee, curl up to meet it. Modified Appanasana. And then release the upper body. Push into the right foot to lift into that single leg bridge with a little extra awareness of what's happening on the back of the right hip and thigh. Set the pelvis down and let the left leg unfold, kicking the left heel forward. Reach overhead. Hover here for a moment. Try to re-find neutral pelvis, neutral spine, neutral rib cage. And then bring the left knee in one more time. Press the right hand to the outside of the left knee. Feel that squeeze, or actually the outer left hip will engage. And then gently start to point the knees over to the right for a twist. Most importantly, you want to feel the left side of the body stay engaged. So it's not necessarily a deep twist, but it's a strong one. And then release the connection between hand and thigh. Kick the left leg forward. Reach arms overhead. One last time. And drag the left heel in, lifting the hips. Release the hips down, and we'll do the other side. So now right heel up. One bigger circle. Make sure you can breathe. Go the opposite direction. Core work without breath it isn't real. So if you're not breathing, it doesn't count. Bend the right knee, hands to shin, curl up. Release back down and push into the left foot, gently lifting. Make sure you can breathe. Slowly melt one vertebra at a time. Back down, kick out through the heel, reaching long. Check in with your core. Should feel like you're working to maintain this position. And then curl the right knee in one more time. This time left hand comes to outer right thigh. Squeeze hand and thigh together. Feel the right side of the body engage. And then as that stays engaged, slowly point the knees to the left, lengthening the muscles that are engaged. Keep breathing. Feel free to gaze to the right if that feels good on the neck. And then very slowly start to point the knees up, kick the heel out one last time, arms overhead. And then drag the right heel in, reach hands towards heels, and float the hips for our last bridge pose. If it feels okay, start to sway the hips from side to side as if you were a hammock. The hips can lower any amount that feels the most supported and interesting. Another way to explore here is to start to circle the hips. So instead of just side to side, they lift through the top and then they lower at the bottom. If you are circling, go the other way. And then drape the spine back down. Grab behind the thighs and spring the legs forward to roll up to Navasana. The feet can touch if you need a moment to catch yourself. And then pull on the backs of the thighs, lengthening through the spine. Hi, everybody. Start to lean one way, lean the other way, and try to feel what the back body's doing. You've done a lot of work to awaken those muscles on the back of the body, so try to feel the back of the rib cage, the low back. Kick the legs in different directions and keep the hands on the thighs just so you have that extra feedback. Notice what the shoulders are doing and try to keep a lot of space in the neck. Ooh, that was nice. Yeah, you can shake out the shoulders a little bit. Good idea. And then pause at center. Place the soles of the feet down onto the mat and then lower the knees towards the left, taking a nice, easy twist to the left. Bring your awareness to the left hand and take some springs into the outer edge of the left hand, letting all the joints be soft. Ah, nice. Mom, try bending the elbow in towards the body. Nice, there you go. That's springier, but do whatever feels best. And the next time you spring up, reach the arms up, let the shoulders be soft. Pause for a moment. And then on your next exhale, lower your hands towards the left and reach the right hand a little further just to deepen your twist. Let's do that a couple of times. Each inhale will reach you up, and each exhale will soften you down and over to the left. Move at your own pace, and you can always stay in one of these movements if it feels useful and you want to explore with your breath. As that right arm sweeps down, try to feel how it takes the spine with you. You might notice something happening all the way down into the hips and the low back. The next time you're in the twist, pause there and make some circles with the right arm. And they can be as big or as small as you want. Bring some awareness to that bottom rib. Imagine there's a wall behind you and you're trying to press the bottom rib into the wall. Let the neck lengthen. And then reach the arms up, going back to center. Take a moment either with hands behind the thighs or hands continuing to lift, and we'll do another round of Navasana, leaning from side to side, kicking out through the legs. Try to be gentle here. Make sure you can breathe. You can always use your hands in that springy way that we explored if you would like. And then lower the feet, and you'll be turning away from me. Now the knees will slowly lower to the right. Reach the right hand down. Take some springs with the right hand. The left hand can do whatever's comfortable. Extra weight into the pinky edge. And make sure you're squeezing the elbow in towards the body. That's going to be what's springiest in the shoulder and the elbow and the wrist. It's okay if the knuckles are lifted. You want the hands to be really soft. And the next time the hand comes down, pause there. Take a breath. With your exhale, you can gently soften a little further into the twist. And then use your next inhale to reach up, making a huge bowl with the arms. Continuing at your own breath, the exhale will lower the arms to the right, and the left hand will keep on reaching, allowing the whole body to twist. Inhale to float to center. And on your next exhale, lower and reach. Try to feel the connection between left fingertips all the way to the left hip. You don't need to keep the hips anchoring. You can let the left hip lift as you reach, so there's not any twisting in the sacroiliac joint at the low back. Let's take our hips with us. And take one more and pause in the twist and make your little circles with your arm, just massaging the left shoulder. And then reach back up, coming back to center. Cross the right foot in front of the left. Plant the left hand behind you and drop the right hand so you flip to tabletop. And then push into the right hand so you flip right back to where you came, but the opposite direction. We're going to do a couple of these. So now the left leg's in front. Reach the left hand up. Drop the left hand to flip to table, and then push into the left hand to lift the right hand. Once you get the hang of it, you can go at your own pace. If this is too much and doesn't feel like what your body needs, take a few rounds of thread the needle, which I'm demoing. Ooh, nice, Sithara. Yeah, feel free to use some momentum. So thread the needle is taking some twists from tabletop and try pushing down into that anchored hand to help activate more support on the shoulder. If you're taking thread the needle, switch to the other side. And if you're taking our dynamic shoulder, I don't know what to call it, take one more round and we'll meet at tabletop. Oh, nice, Roseanne. You can add in a little extra release there. And as long as we're here, let's take a little walk to reclaim our blocks and bring them in towards you. We won't need them yet, but it's easier to crawl and get them. And so you can place them towards the middle of the mat and then come back to tabletop. Flatten the tops of the feet and again, bring awareness to the middle of the back, the bottom rib. I have the tendency for my pelvis to spill forward and my low back to arch. And so when I notice my bottom rib, it lifts and pulls me to neutral. And that looks great, Deanna. Mom, it looks like you've gone a little too far. You're rounding. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And so now start to reach the sits bones back, creasing at the hips. Nothing should change in the spine. And then push into the tops of the feet to come forward once again. Take a few of these pure hip hinges and notice what wakes up on the back of the pelvis. I like to visualize my glutes catching me like a slingshot and then just propelling my hips forward. And the next time the hips come back, pause there. Push down into the tops of the feet. Now it's okay to allow the spine to round. And as you push down, send the hips forward and let one vertebra at a time start to stack, coming up to kneeling. Tuck the toes under. Keep the pelvis neutral. Keep the spine neutral, just like we've been doing. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Right hand to the belly. The back of the left hand to the bottom rib, and let the hands give you feedback so you can feel that sense of neutral. The belly lifts and the bottom rib draws down. And now bend the knees so that you float back and come back to neutral. Sync it with your breath so the exhale sends you back. Nothing changes underneath the hands, except maybe you feel those muscles fire. Nice. And take a few pulses on your own. You don't have to go very far. Just try to feel the muscles that are waking up to support you. And then switch the hands just so that little bonus shoulder stretch you're getting with the back hand is even. And the next time you float up to center, pause there and step the right foot forward. Grab your blocks and walk them in so they're in line with the right foot, and you're in a nice short 90-90 lunge, but you guys are already there and look perfect. Do that arrangement with the hands one more time so you can have some feedback. What is your pelvis actually doing? Take a breath. And then same movement we just did, bend the left knee, letting yourself recline back slightly. You might go even less because now you only have one psoas to support you. So it's actually harder with one leg. Make sure you're breathing. Sync the exhale with the lean back movement. The next time you lean back, pause there, reach the arms up and push down into the left knee to create more space in the front of the body. It's okay to extend the spine here. And then play with lowering the right arm and imagine you're reaching for the left heel, but don't actually try to go there, but let the spine rotate just a little bit. Oh, yeah, if your hand's just naturally there, that's okay. And then sweep the right arm up, release the hands to the block. You might want them at the highest height or the middle height. Even if you can get your hands to the floor, try using the blocks today. And start to circle the weight around an invisible quarter underneath the back knee. Deanna, I still use that cue that you invented. It's so awesome. And then circle the other direction. And if you're used to having your hands on the floor, notice what the blocks makes available. Maybe there's a sense of more support in the hips or more softness in the back or just an overall buoyancy. Circle the opposite direction. And then look at the back knee, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, and without touching the ground, bend the back knee and take that action a couple of times, bending and then reaching through the back heel to extend that leg. Push into the right foot so the front leg is active even though the left leg is doing most of the moving. And then next time the knee lifts, take your right block and place it underneath the left knee. If that's too hard and uncomfortable, you can put a blanket under or over the block, but this will help us wake up more awareness in the hip. And so as you're ready, come to your lunge position. The left knee is dropped on the block now. And then reach your arms to T. Start to lift the right foot, and it's going to feel more destabilizing than usual, so be really compassionate. Use your breath to find center. Can kick the right foot out at different directions to tip the pelvis slightly and force the core to wake up in all different angles. And then set the right foot back down to where it came from and try to find that neutral with your pelvis. And you can always use the hands like we did at the beginning of our class if that helped you. And let's just take a couple of breaths at neutral. And even though we're not moving, the block is so destabilizing that more musculature has to wake up in your hip to hold you at neutral. If this feels fruitful, you can stay here and breathe. We also have the option to use the next inhale to sweep the arms up, letting the left knee push down to open the front of the body. And then use your exhale to drop the right arm, reaching in the direction of the right heel, but not actually trying to go there necessarily. And then lift the right arm up. Lower the left hand to the block that's in front of you. Lift the left knee, bring the other block up, and kick into the right heel, swaying the hips from side to side for a nice counter pose. Let the knees be nice and soft here. And then gently lower the left knee back down to where it came from. Sweep the arms up and start to reach the right arm up and back. So you've got a nice spiral through the spine. Push down into the left knee and notice how that pushing down helps you open more. Sorry, I didn't mean to trick you, Deanna. It's okay if you want to reach down too, but let's explore some spiraling in the spine. And then soften the elbows just a little bit so there's a nice buoyancy here. You can even bend into the front knee a little extra. And then release the hands down to the blocks. Lower the blocks to their lowest height and kick the right foot back to a plank pose. Bend the knees towards the mat and then push into the hands, reaching the hips up and back to down dog. Check in with the back of the rib cage, the bottom rib, that hip hinge we've been practicing. Take a breath. And then lower the knees to the mat and pause at neutral. Push into the pinky side of the hands. Keep breathing into the back of the body. Neutralize the neck. And then send the hips back. Flatten the feet and allow the forehead to melt towards the mat. Push down into the shins and the tops of the feet, slowly rolling up, and we'll do that same sequence on the other side. So now the weight shifts into the right knee. Step the left foot forward. We start without the blocks at first, so tuck the left toes under. Option to use the hands for feedback as the spine stays neutral. Bend the right knee and take a couple of those gentle knee bends to activate the psoas. Notice what's waking up deep in that right hip. You can sync this movement with the exhale. And notice a sense of connection between the upper body and the leg when you lean back and the psoas activates. And the next time you lean back, lift the arms, take a breath. And then with your exhale, drop the left hand, reaching towards the heel, any amount that's comfortable. Take a breath and then exhale to lift the hand back up and release the hands forward to the blocks. Adjust the blocks to the height that you like and start to circle the weight around an invisible quarter underneath the right knee this time. We practice being springy with our arms, so check in with your elbows and your wrists. Make sure you feel supported. It might be helpful to walk the blocks back towards you, closer to your feet, so that there's more support underneath your shoulders. As the hips circle, anchor the left big toe, and let's circle the hips the other direction. Anchoring the big toe is going to wake up more musculature in the foot. It'll help the ankle get stronger, and it'll further support your knee and your hip. Look at your back knee, tuck your back toes, and with an exhale, lift the back knee away from the mat. And then inhale, bend the knee any amount, and exhale to lift. As you pulse here, try to keep the hips exactly where they are and notice what begins to fire, what changes when there's that added support. The next time the knee lifts, take your left block, place it underneath the knee. You might want your blanket for extra cushioning under that block. And then slowly shift the weight into the right knee so you come up to your block kneeling lunge. Arms to a low V. Start to hover the front foot. It might feel very asymmetrical, like maybe the second side is easier or harder. That's normal, so be patient and compassionate. Play with kicking or pointing the knee in different directions just to help more wake up in that right hip. And then place the sole of the foot down to where it came from. So left foot down in that short lunge. With your next inhale, sweep the arms up. And exhale to slowly reach up and back to the left. Take a breath here. And then come back to center. Pause here for a moment if you want to push down into the right knee and let the front of the body open slightly. And then release the hands down to right hand to the block that's right there. Lift the back knee and bring that block forward. And then kick through the front leg, letting it extend any amount that's comfortable. Sway the hips from side to side. And then lower the blocks to their lowest height, shoulders width. Press back to your plank. And then we'll lower the knees to tabletop and walk the blocks back until they're right underneath your shoulders. Take a couple of breaths here. Notice the back of the body. Again, lift through that bottom rib without rounding the spine, right? So it's less than you might think. It's almost just actually breathe into the bottom of the rib cage. Don't even think about lifting it. Just draw the breath down there. And then with your next exhale, or make sure the toes are tucked under. With your next exhale, hover the knees and then inhale to set them down. And start to play with this at your own pace and notice what wakes up around the spine, in the core as the knees hover. And start to notice if you can keep that alert as the knees lower. So even though there's less demand when the knees down, see if you can keep that strength alive around the spine. The next time the knees lower and that strength is still there, start to draw the hands back, letting the spine lengthen, letting the heart reach between the hands, any amount. Take a breath into the heart, draw the shoulders back, let the alignment of the neck just follow the spine. And we'll play with that again. So the exhale will hover the knees, and then inhale to lower the knees. Keep everything engaged, and on your next exhale, start to reach the heart forward, letting the front of the body lengthen. And then the exhale hovers the knees. Inhale down, exhale lengthen. And take a few of these pulses on your own. This has been such a game changer for me in waking up support around my spine as I backbend and feeling like I have a lot of awareness and articulation through every vertebra. So move at any pace that feels good for you, really emphasizing a sense of support. It doesn't matter how far you go. I would rather you feel more support and more awareness. Let's do one more and meet in the back bend. And then gently neutralize the spine. Breathe into those bottom ribs. Flatten the tops of the feet. Send the hips back. Take your blocks with you so you can place them underneath your elbows. Fingertips to the sky. Melt the forehead towards the mat. If this is too much, you can remove the blocks. If this doesn't feel like a comfortable resting pose, you can do a cat pose instead, but we just want to release and soften. Contact between the forehead and something solid is a bonus. So if your forehead's away from the mat, you can just put a block underneath the forehead and gently rock from side to side. Don't worry about the tricep stretch if you take your block away. And slowly place the hands onto the blocks. Push into the blocks. Lift the hips so you're back in tabletop with hands on blocks. Tuck the toes under, hover the knees, and slowly extend through the backs of the legs. Walk the feet towards the blocks and bend the knees really deeply. So you're in a forward fold, but your hands are on the blocks. Sway the hips from side to side. And then bend the knees really deeply, bringing the sits bones towards the heels. Slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Use as much support as you need for the spine to feel safe. We'll meet in Tadasana. And if you're following along with the playlist, you can go to the next track. Feel free to grab a sip of water. Okay. So keeping the blocks where they are, just in front of you, should be perfect. Step the right foot onto the block. and anchor the right heel. Start to hinge the hip. So it's kind of like you're in a lunge position. You should feel some support happening in that right hip as the weight shifts into the right foot. Take a couple of pulses like that. Let the left arm start to swing as the right knee bends. And then give yourself permission to walk the left foot back and to the left until you feel like you've got enough space. Yeah, nice, to explore here. You don't want to feel any pressure in the front of the right knee. So if you feel that, push down more in the right heel and don't bend quite as far. The next time you bend into the knee, shift the weight into the right foot, hovering the left foot, and swing the left foot forward. Take a few swings here, trying to keep the pelvis neutral, just like we've done, and just let all the movement come from the leg swinging, and that gentle weight of the leg tractioning the hip socket. The next time the leg swings back, place that foot down to where it came from and bend into the right knee again. Take a couple of lunges, adding the arm in. And the next time you lunge, start to twist into the right leg. Push into the ball of the right foot and notice how the right leg can, the ball of the left foot. Let the left leg activate and start to reach the left arm up, extending through the spine. Press evenly into both feet, and it's okay to bend back here as long as you feel supportive. Take a breath, and then shift the weight into the right foot and go back into those leg swings. We'll do that one more time. So as the leg swings back, bring the toes down. Take a couple of bouncy lunges. And then once you're in the lunge, push down into the ball of the left foot. Let that whole left side expand. Reach the left arm up. And this time it is okay to reach the right arm towards the right heel, but think more up energetically. It's beautiful. Make sure you feel supported through the spine. It doesn't matter how far you're going. And then push into the right foot so you come out of the back bend, go right back into those leg swings. And then the next time the leg is forward, pause there, float your arms to a big W, start to externally rotate the left thigh, lifting through the arch of the left foot for dancing Shiva. Bend the right knee. I'm going to turn just in case this is a new pose for you, just so you can see. Oh, beautiful, nice. Take one breath here. And then place the left foot down on the other block, which is just fun. How often do you get to have 2 feet on blocks? You can imagine it's the 90s and you've got really cool platform shoes. I definitely was obsessed with platform shoes. And now shift the weight over into the left foot. Step the right foot back, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So start by bending into the right knee. Make sure most of the weight is in the heel. So if your foot is bigger than the block, favor having the heel on the block and let the toes curl off the edge. Let the arms start to swing. So the right arm will swing as the left knee bends. Can use a little momentum here and just make sure there's no pressure on the front of that left knee. It doesn't matter how deep the knee bends. Make sure you feel supported, especially in that left hip. The next time you bend into the knee, power into the left heel, hover the back foot, and then start to swing the back leg. In these leg swings, just like we practice those movements on our back, try to keep the spine and the pelvis neutral and let all the movement come from the femur, the thigh bone, sliding forward and back. The next time the foot swings back, set the foot down. Take a couple of bends into the knee, and then we'll add our back bend. So push into the ball of the right foot. Let the whole right leg lengthen. Sweep the arms up. We'll just bend back for this first one. Take a breath. Let the whole front of the body lengthen and keep the back body soft. And then push into the left foot, taking you out of the back bend, and then bend the left knee, going right back into those lunges. After you've taken a few lunges, you can shift into the leg swing. And then as the leg comes back, we'll go right back into our lunge, but this time we'll sweep the arms up and then slowly reach the left arm back towards the right heel. Keep reaching up by pushing the ball of the right foot down and letting the whole front of the body open. And then shift the weight and swing the leg. And the next time the leg swings, arms to a big bowl and externally rotate the right thigh for dancing Shiva. Great time to do an Om Namah Shivaya mantra. Oh, nice. Yeah, get really bouncy in the left leg. I love that, Roseanne. Beautiful. And then set the right foot down to the block. Release the hands and just pause for a moment on your platform. You can gently step off the blocks and go for a walk around the space. And even though I'm sorry you don't have platform shoes on right now, see if you can still feel that sense of the legs swinging effortlessly and the pelvis staying really buoyant. So the movement isn't coming from the pelvis tipping. Rather, you're really supported. Your core naturally fires up in a bright way. And there's a lot of space in the hip joint. And you can make your way back to your mat. No need to rush. Place the blocks off to the side, close but not on your mat. And we'll put all of the movements that you've done in today's class together in a little flow, starting with a nice buoyant twist, just like you did on the block, but now the front leg is going to be down off of the floor. The back heel can lift slightly, big bowl with the arms. Slowly, the right leg is in front, sorry. This way we'll twist towards each other. So check the neutral of your pelvis and then let the left knee get really heavy. And notice as the knee reaches towards the ground, that sensation we've practiced so much of that psoas turning on. It's the same thing that happened here, that brightness. See if you can feel that as the knee takes just the littlest dip. And then gently start to twist to the right, just like you practice on the block. And as you twist, gently lower the left knee. And then push into the right foot coming to center. Exhale, bend into the back knee as you twist. Take a couple of these twists. And the next time you're in the twist, shift the weight into the front foot. Swing the back leg forward right into your dancing Shiva. And then start to kick the left heel behind you. Reach forward in however deep of a virabhadrasana 3 you want to go. It can be a little tip or it can be a big tip. Place the back toes down. Sweep the hands over to the left, turning all 10 toes towards the back of the room. We're going to do the same thing in the opposite direction, but this is my favorite moment of this sequence. Push into the ball of the right foot, reach the right arm up, let the left arm get heavy, going into our twisted back bend. Try to feel the support wrapping around your spine as you lift and twist at the same time. Take a breath. And then we'll repeat the sequence from here. So big bowl with the arms, take a couple of springs in your Atlas twist, and then shift the weight forward and swing the right leg forward into your dancing Shiva. You can keep bouncing here, I like that. And then reach the arms forward, kick the right heel back into whatever virabhadrasana 3 the body is craving. Touch the right toes down, sweep all the way over to the right, right into that back bend where the ball of the left foot pushes you up as you reach. And then you can continue at your own pace. This movement softens into the Atlas twist, swings you right into the dancing Shiva. When you're ready, you can tip forward into Vira 3, staying long, kicking the heel out, reaching the arms forward, and then touching the toes down for this moment of unfurling as you spiral to the other side of the room and then push into the ball of the right foot to open and reach. And stay there as long as it feels useful and interesting. And then you can soften and begin the sequence again. Once you've got the hang of it, feel free to go at your own pace. You can hold anything that feels interesting, add anything on, skip anything that the body is not enjoying. And see if you can start to play with connecting the mantra to your movements. Om Namah Shivaya. It really doesn't matter what your movement is. If you're doing it consciously, your body will be supported. And it's okay if the sequence totally changes and doesn't look like what I'm doing. Just make sure you feel supported and present. Nice. The next time you're in the back bend on with the left leg forward, we're balanced out. You don't need to rush to get there. The left leg. And from there, step the back foot forward and pause. That was a lot of spiraling, and in my experience, spiraling wakes up a lot of sensation in the body. And so just notice what it feels like to be in your body in stillness. Look down at the feet and notice if they're hips distance, and maybe they're just perfectly supportive right now. Feel free to make any adjustments. Anchor the big toe. Gently point the knees towards the pinky of the foot and feel that spiral of strength in the legs. Notice any sense of that support wrapping up around the spine. If you can create that nice length through the neck we've been practicing. See if the heart wants to open. You can allow the hands to softly spiral if that feels natural and supportive. So the palms face forward and there's more space in the shoulders. And grab your blocks. And just for fun, we'll face the other way. So the way that you're facing now, because that's the other way from where we've been all of class. You can place the blocks down at their lowest height or medium height or whatever is comfortable for you. Bend the knees and step back into plank. And after doing a lot of spiraling, sometimes plank feels easier. So feel free to hold plank if your body, wow, Sithara, your alignment looks so good in plank. Yeah, you can add some little hip wiggles. That looks fun. Feel free to try that. It's harder, so that must be the spiral energy. And then lower the knees. Let the hips melt back to the heels. Place the blocks wherever is comfortable for the arms or the forehead. And then holding on to the blocks, slowly roll up so you're standing on the knees. Keep the feet flat so that you can actually try this. Kick down into the tops of the feet and notice how the front of the body starts to engage when you do that. You might feel it in the quads, but you might feel it rise all the way up towards the heart. Bring the blocks, let's start the blocks at about the calves so they're closer than the heels, and then you might want them to eventually walk back. Crease at the hips And then float back up to kneeling. And do that a couple of times. And let the kicking into the tops of the feet be the action that floats you up to neutral. And the next time you float up, start to reach the left arm forward, up, and back. And take a few big spirals. And then start to notice where you might want to have your block towards the back of the spiral and make that adjustment. And the next time the hand circles back, place the fingertips onto the block. Push down into the block to lift through the front of the body. Option to reach the right arm up. Take a breath. And then to come out of it, we're going to do something a little different. Hinge at the hips, just like you practiced before. I'm like, why did I never do that? It feels so good. And then float back up to center. Hinge at the hips one more time. And then roll up will go the other way. So now the right arm will circle up and back. Make any adjustments with your block and then make a few circles. And then bring the fingertips to the block. Push down into the fingertips. Kick into the tops of the feet. Let the front of the body open, but it's okay if the heart is pointed slightly to the left. Again, option to hinge at the hips. I've really been enjoying this. And then push down into the shins to come to center. And so now we'll play with that a little bit. And I want you guys to give yourself the opportunity as you continue to circle and to spiral. You can change the level of the blocks. You can even start to bring them behind the feet. So if you're like, wow, I feel really open and I want a deeper back bend, keep walking the blocks back, but think more up and back and don't even worry about where your heels are. That's so limiting. There's so much we can do. So as you're ready, you'll start with the hip hinge and you'll circle the left arm up and back. You can take a few circles and then when you're ready to lift, you can make any adjustments with the block. And then to come out of it, hinge the hips, and then the spine just comes right back to neutral, so you don't have to do that awkward, uncomfortable lift out. Nice, Deanna. And you should feel the support coming from the front of the body. You don't want to feel any pinching in the low back. If you ever need to take a break, you can walk the blocks in front of you and come into that supported child's pose we've been doing with the arms. And after you twist and spiral to the right, the next time you're all set. Then from center, hinge at the hips, placing them down on the heels, and just pause. Instead of going into a forward fold right away, just be with what it's like to find neutral. Breathe into the back of the ribs, especially that bottom rib, letting your attention sink down and back. Slowly start to slide the hands forward on the thighs, and do this a few times just to massage the quads. And then start to add a little rounding of the spine. So as the hands push, you can allow the whole spine to gently curl. It's not a deep forward fold. It's almost just a releasing. And then take one of your blocks over to the left. Sit the hips over to the left. And I enjoy medium height. You might need it higher or lower. Gently start to lower onto the forearms. Take a few breaths. I'll go at an angle so you can see what my body's doing. Take a few breaths to bring the forehead towards the block. Hold the block with the hands if that feels comfortable. That puts my elbows just in the perfect supportive position underneath my shoulders. And then this isn't a completely restorative pose because we'll gently push the left leg down into the mat just to create extra support for the left hip. This can be kind of intense on that left hip, so we're just creating a little bit more awareness in that left leg so we're not sinking into the hip socket. Breathe through the back of the body. Feel free to adjust the block at any time or explore any variations that the body's asking for. A very gentle rocking from side to side can massage out tension in the forehead. There are muscles in your face. They don't get a whole lot of love. So now is a great opportunity to massage the muscle in the forehead. And then place the palms on the floor and start to push into the palms to slowly come up. Take your block with you. Roll through center, pause for a moment. You can even lift your block up and take a couple of breaths at center. And then let the knees go to the right side. Set your block up and take your time. Try to avoid that tendency to want to just go straight to the block, but start to ease into it as if you were your dog getting ready to lay down. I mean, the cats, the dogs, they walk in circles, they take their time, and then eventually they start to melt and soften. You can continue to massage the forehead with the side-to-side movements, or you can keep the weight in the center of the forehead and make little tiny circles around the third eye. And when you're ready to come out, gently place one hand at a time, starting to push into the palms, easing yourself out just like you eased yourself in. And then if your music is still playing, you can pause it. We'll do one more relaxation pose before Shavasana, and then after Shavasana we'll come up and we'll meditate. For this last pose, you'll want both of your blocks, and you might want a blanket. Oh no, actually you need a blanket. I'm sorry, I lied. I'll go from the side. So you'll be sitting cross-legged, and the reason you need your blanket is you want your pelvis to be supported even if you're flexible, because it's really important that the pelvis be able to gently tip forward. We don't want the movement to just come from the spine rounding. We want the pelvis to gently tip. And then you'll create a tower with your blocks. They might be 2 at the highest height, or the top one might be at a medium height. And just like in our twist, we'll use the block to support our forehead. And the hands will gently squeeze the side of the block. And just I think the two most important things here is that the pelvis rocks forward and that you don't feel any tension on the back of the neck. And so if your block situation isn't high enough and you feel like the back of the neck is straining, you can take any forward fold. You can use a chair here. Actually, a chair is really great too. And it's okay that there's going to be a little support with the hands. Just let the back of the body lengthen after all of our back bends. Breathe. If you'd like to keep massaging your forehead, you can, or just find stillness. To exit the pose, first push into the fingertips, lifting the base of the wrist, and then continue to push into the fingertips to lift the head away from the blocks. Start to walk the hands in really slowly. Feel the sits bones anchor, and then one vertebra at a time. Just pause at center and switch the cross of your legs for balance. We're not going to come into it again, but just to change up the pelvis. And pause. And notice the effects of that pressure on the forehead and the gentle introversion of your spine curving. And take a few breaths here. And then just as consciously start to melt your way down towards Shavasana. Before you do that, you might want to put on a sweater or socks. Grab any props that you like to have. I always recommend the blanket behind the backs of the knees. If you have an extra blanket, my favorite thing that I've been doing lately is creating a little headrest cradle. If you want to try to do that, I'll show you how. From the blanket's folded position, you'll curl the bottom edge of the blanket up, and then you'll take those edges, it's sort of like origami, and you'll tuck them under, and it creates almost like a reverse massage table situation. And the little hump supports the base of the skull. And then, yeah, you can even dim the lights or whatever would be inviting. And then, just like we've done in so many poses, give yourself the space to wiggle around and get comfortable and make adjustments until you find that sweet spot where you can rest completely supported. And take a moment just to check in with the pelvis, the support of your spine, the placement of your shoulders, the length of your neck. And when you have found a place that's supported and weightless, come to complete stillness and just bathe in the breath. Take your time breathing, becoming aware of your body. And as you start to make gentle movements, imagine kind of like a snake sheds their skin. Imagine leaving the crystallized form of yourself behind and letting these movements help you crack that shell. Eventually you can roll to one side and envision the you that came into class still resting behind you. And as you make your way up to seated, let yourself leave behind your tensions, physically, mentally, emotionally. And notice a sense of freshness, possibility in this new form of you. Find your way to a comfortable meditation seat and notice your ability to sit upright with the physical support that you've awakened in your practice. And then start to notice your ability to focus on the breath. And just like we've practiced, be aware of the wholeness of the breath, including that hidden space in the back body, all the way down to the bottom rib, that forgotten place that we don't often breathe. Attach the gentle mantra to each breath, breathing Om Namah Shivaya all the way down. And then repeating that mantra again, even as the breath leaves the body, letting the focus stay rooted deep within. In times like these, the mantra really can be an anchor, helping you to stay rooted in the reality of your inner self. And so with each repetition, imagine or allow the mantra to help you connect deeper and deeper to the source. Hmm. Thank you so much for practicing. Namaste. So great to see you. I hope your spines feel awesome. It's always nice to see all of you. Deanna, I'm so glad you could make it. It's been so long that we've gotten to practice in real time, so it's really great to see you. Hmm. Absolutely. See you on Friday, Sithara and Mom and Roseanne. Thanks for all your hard work today at Konalani, taking care of all the baby pineapples. Have a good week, everybody.